Roll it.
Episode 15 rolling.
Piss clock. Piss clock is on.
Is on.
Love
I
it.
love it. Love it.
My mic's hanging weird, but that's all right.
All
All right.
We are
So,
back.
episode 15. We're at Colca Studios, the #1 commercial builders on Long Island. If you need a Firehouse build, give them a call. Also, download the Firewire app available on iOS and Android. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volly House Podcast. Disclaimer. Phil hates when I say the disclaimer. So
Because it's written fucking everywhere.
just,
I love it.
Just read it.
Yeah, read it. There you go.
Yeah.
Off to a new start.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it every episode.
Read it. If you're offended, watch something else.
Don't be offended.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
going
have-
to save a lot of time. Going right into it.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
So, happy Easter, guys.
Happy.
What'd you guys do?
Easter and Passover, right?
Yeah,
Right in a
Passover
row.
too.
So I was at home with the family.
What'd you cook?
My 2 girls. My wife cooked. She made a nice ham. So a little for everybody. My one daughter's vegan, so she had to have her own little meal. But
What do vegans eat on
a lot of vegetables.
Easter? No, on Easter.
Ice soup.
Tofu.
Ice soap, tofu.
Tofu. So, yeah, no, it was excellent. Nice day at home. Very relaxing. So the family was nice. How about yourself?
I did the in-laws up in Westchester. Bunch of, I forget what it's called. We had these interesting potatoes that were like mashed potatoes on the bottom and thin sliced potatoes on top, baked.
Oh,
Cheese on top?
It had cheese in it. Yeah.
yeah. What the hell is that called?
I never heard of it. It was
Scalloped potatoes.
Yeah, it's
that
like
what it's
that.
called?
Scalloped potatoes. Thin cut with cheese on top.
Good. Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
mashed on
My
the
wife
bottom.
makes
It's
them.
called. It's called.
Excellent.
I forget what it's called. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It
it's
is-
pretty good.
it is
She makes scalloped potatoes.
And then we had lamb, a big freaking chunk of
Nice
lamb.
chunk of lamb.
Yeah.
I don't like gamey meat, so that's not really my thing. It was all right though.
If you cook it right, it doesn't taste gamey.
I don't know if I ever really liked lamb. Occasionally eat it in like a gyro or something like that if I get Greek. But I was also at the in-laws. We had a lot of Italian food.
Well, they're not
Ravioli.
in-laws yet.
Yeah,
Soon
very
to be
soon.
in,
Yeah,
right?
next month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's coming up. Crazy.
Life changes.
Yep. But no, it was good. Nice and relaxing. But today, man,
Took in some runs.
huh?
Took in some runs.
I
took in some runs on Easter.
Oh
went
yeah.
down. Went down for some runs. It was a
Anything
busy day.
Anything crazy?
Nothing good.
No.
Cooking related. Couple of them.
You know,
We had a
it's
bad MVA though in the morning. Kid was killed on a motorcycle on Nichols Road.
I saw
oh shit,
that.
really?
Yeah, 25-year-old. He was riding with his father actually. It was like a group,
God.
group of like 10 or 12 of them.
Really, and that's
Yeah.
the safe way to ride.
Usually, yeah. Yeah, I did not go to it. But
That's
yeah,
tough,
It's terrible.
especially on like
Especially on
Easter.
Easter and with your family, and it's very dangerous out there with the motorcycles, and
Yeah, for sure.
it's just terrible all around. But
You ride, right?
yes, I do.
I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It was asking like EMS personnel or doctors about what can you safely tell people like not to do based on your experience in the ER, and like every one of them was motorcycle.
Yeah, ride motorcycles.
Yeah,
It's
I just-
it's super dangerous. I mean, I've been riding different types of motorcycles since I was 10 years old, and I had a 10-year span with nothing. I had no motorcycle. After I got married and had my first kid, my wife was like, "You're not doing that." I had a rice rocket, so put that away, got rid of it, and I went back to a cruiser in 2010, and I have a Harley.
I'll tell you what freaks me out is driving down one of the highways, main roadways, and just hitting a pothole with your car, where it's like you feel it in your ass when you hit it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, if you're on a motorcycle and like you don't see it, yeah, like
You got to be very careful, especially this time of year when there's sand still on the road, when you have a lot of potholes, you have to be extremely cautious riding a bike. I mean, you got to be cautious all the time. You got to think that everybody's trying to kill you.
Oh, 100%.
Basically. But it's one of those things that is extremely dangerous, and you got to be very, very cautious and careful. I love to ride. It's a great thing to do. I love going out. I'm part of a motorcycle club too. But
So, are you part of the Fire Riders?
The Riders of Fire.
no, New York City Fire Riders.
Different one?
New
York City guys?
Yeah, New York City guys. But
Oh, what is it, like a different chapter?
they've had their own chapter since I think 1986 they started. So
Oh, wow.
I've been in the club since 2010. But we do a lot of rides. We have monthly meetings and stuff like that, and it's good, and it's about riding safely. But you got to be extra cautious, and when we deal with these types of incidents, we talked a little bit about when my first time as an EMT and coming across people that we know and neighbors and stuff like that. But when you go to these accidents, depending on what it is, kids, adults, whatever, PTSD and everything else, you gotta be very careful. And if you need to talk to somebody, after an incident like that, please do, or reach out to somebody. And we all feel the pain, we really do. So
What do they
just
call
tough
that in a
situations.
car when you hit a pothole? Jump steer? Bump steer? I used to drive a lifted Jeep, and when you used to hit a bump, like if I was with my dad, like you hit the bump and it freaking yanks you. They call it bump steer or jump steer?
Different types of vehicles are going to handle differently too, obviously.
Yeah.
Four-wheel drives, SUVs are going to handle it differently than a car. And
Yeah, and then hitting a pothole on a
Why?
bike.
What is it like? Just because you have to like kind of correct your.
Yeah, like you never felt that? Maybe
I've
because
I've felt potholes.
yeah. Like I feel like when I used to drive my old Jeep, I'd hit a bump and it would like yank me off the road.
Oh shit.
it could.
Yeah, I guess maybe with
like the
with the
old
lifted.
suspension.
People get
yeah.
blowouts and everything else, and
Yeah.
it's insane. But
Speaking of shitty potholes, Indianapolis had the worst roads.
Really?
People
I don't
say
know
we
about
got-
that.
People say we got bad roads.
New York's got some pretty bad roads.
Driving some of those roads, they were so bad. There'd be like a traffic jam of people avoiding potholes. Like it was bad, surprisingly bad.
It's a city.
Yeah.
Go around New York City and tell me how it is.
Oh yeah.
It's
I used to
terrible.
work in Mount Vernon, Lower Westchester. I swear they just pour pavement on whatever hills. Pour pavement on a bush.
Somebody said they were filling potholes with like the fucking crunchies you get from Carvel. Like that's just what they're filling them with.
Yeah.
Like yeah, fuck it.
Mount
deal with
Vernon
it.
was terrible. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was. They just repaved the Northern State Parkway last year, and it's already fucked.
Yeah.
I actually saw something, Senator Matera. He's in like the district
Oh, yeah,
over
yeah,
here.
yeah.
He just posted something. They're doing a ton of roads. They're actually doing Vets Highway right off the Northern State. They're doing like somewhere in Huntington, somewhere
Well,
else.
it's the roads are tough enough, and then you deal with potholes and people trying to avoid it, so they like look like they're going in your lane and everything else. And then you're responding on a rig too. Think about members that are in the back. You're trying to avoid a pothole. You hit a pothole, God forbid.
Yeah, all the
You know,
tool
that's-
mounts come loose.
That's why you got to wear your seatbelts. I mean, it's a tough time of season right now with everything going on.
Right.
Hopefully, it'll fill them all up soon. We won't have to worry about it.
You just said tool mounts. You know something I never actually saw in a rig is helmet mounts. Aren't you supposed to use helmet mounts?
Your helmets are supposed to be secure, according to NFPA.
Recommended by NFPA?
It's supposed to be.
Where'd you
So
see
you're
that?
supposed to have either a shelf or some way to secure your helmet.
Because
in the
when
rig.
we got our new rescue truck in 2021, it was my first time ever seeing the process of getting a new truck, and I saw these mounts, and I'm like, "What?" And they're big. Obviously, got to secure a fire helmet, and I was like, "What the hell are these things?" And they're like, "Oh, those are helmet mounts. Like we just don't use them."
Yeah, because I consider projectiles. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything in the cab is supposed to be secure to 6 Gs, I think.
Yeah.
So, and you think about it, I mean, there's always stuff thrown around in the back of the rig, no matter how you look at it, whether they're water bottles or gear, equipment, helmets,
Yeah. Anything.
maps, everything is supposed to be secured and tied down so that, God forbid, you get in an accident, you roll over, that it's protected, it won't go flying as a projectile, including
Right.
your helmet.
I had a dream I flipped a truck the other day.
Oh, please don't do that.
So scary.
It is scary.
Thought it was real.
I mean, some people. I've been on trucks where I'm like, I think this might flip. People just taking like hard corners, going way too fast.
the cab is here, but the rest of the truck is
Yeah,
here.
exactly. One time we were going to an accident, and somebody took the engine off road on the expressway onto the grass, but the grass went down.
That's not good.
And I was like,
Dude.
in my seat, like, yo, like get back on the road. Like this, maybe a car could handle that, but a fire truck with
No, you got it
high
with the
center
weight of a
gravity.
fire
Yeah.
truck, and you don't know how soft the ground is or anything else. Now you start sliding or turning, or you try to overcorrect if you go off the road. You're gonna roll the rig. So take your time, be safe, get there. The only way we're gonna help people is if we arrive.
Yeah.
Arrive safely. So you got to take that with a grain of salt and think about what you're doing.
right.
What do we got? New sponsor? I don't know what order you got this stuff in, but
What, you're trying to jump ahead? Let Tyler run this.
Well, let's start with Frontline Optics.
let me get one of those chews.
You want to chew or you want to...
The chew.
Hold on. Chew.
Focus Chews.
I got the drop. I'm going with the drop right now.
And that is one shot.
Oh, what the hell?
Nothing in there?
No, this is the hard ones.
I give you the wrong one?
No.
Let me
This
see.
is drops too. These are drops.
Oh, whatever. I'll take one anyway.
Wrong
You
bag.
know what? Way back when, I put these in here just to put some weight in the bag because we ran out of these ones.
Oh,
But I
I
thought we
think
had
there's.
another bag.
I did put another bag in there. I didn't pull it out.
Yeah.
But
How come
that's,
I don't get to take a bag home?
I gave you a bunch of
Give it
shit.
back.
Yeah, it's One Shot Energy. You could use code FIREWIRE, one word, for 10% off. And also for Frontline Optics, you can go to frontlineoptics.com and use code VHP15 for 15% off. Suspended or not. So the first one,
How come Phil doesn't have glasses?
he said because it bothers his nose.
I'm not. No, it doesn't. Well, it does bother my nose, but I get a headache. if I
Yeah,
wear
but you can put them on for this, at least. I mean, I bought a pair.
I'm not a sunglass guy. I got big eyebrows.
Phil
You
wears
got no eyebrows.
Phil wears
I got
bifocals.
big eyebrows. What are you
Yeah, you
talking
got big
about?
eyebrows.
So this one was submitted. Two probies keep falling asleep at the firehouse, leaving a mess in the rec room. They were told by commissioners not to sleep in there, and the following day when a district employee tried to go clean, they were all over the recliners sleeping, and when asked to move, they said no and laughed at the district employee. The district set up a separate bunk room, but the probies continue to sleep in the rec room because they say the other room is uncomfortable. I think there's a lot of problems in that entire paragraph right there. So I'll let you guys.
There's a lot of problems all over.
Yeah, like I think it's a
Do
lot
they-
deeper than just.
Yeah, I have
like
a feeling
this.
there's a lot more to that story. Do they have a policy, no sleeping in the firehouse? Or?
Not sure, but I mean,
they had a
it's-
bunk room, or they don't.
It
they,
sounds
they
like
do now.
it sounds like they set up a bunk room, but these probies continue to sleep in the rec room when they were told not to.
No, right there, probies shouldn't be talking back or saying anything, especially towards an employee.
100%.
And if they're told not to do something, they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. That's why I think there's multiple problems here because something is not being conveyed
And what about the other?
properly.
Right. What about the other members, their officers? Like
Right.
You're saying a commissioner said something. Did the chief of the officers do anything?
Yeah, that's.
Are they trying to make accommodations better?
It sounds like the department commissioners were trying to make accommodations, but these two kids decided, or two probies decided that it's not comfortable and they want to sleep in the rec room. Now, I think for the ones that we've heard about, like the probies and stuff like that, like there's always that line that you teeter with, like, okay, how much of a problem is this, and
Right.
how active are they? This I see as a major problem because you have two probies that are just completely defying what they're being told and kind of making a mockery of it. I think, in my personal experience, like, is it good that these guys are, trying to stay at the firehouse overnight to, make some calls for a quicker response like we talk about all the time.
Right.
But defying what you were told to do.
Defying, well, we don't know if there's a rule, but if they're violating a rule, that's even more of a problem. But they're
Right. So
basically, somebody's telling them or an order not to do it, and they're doing it anyway. That's a big problem, especially from a probie.
yeah, 100%. So
Probie
that's what I'm
should
saying.
not be-
I think this stems from when these guys joined the department, they were not given enough of a conversation about how things work around the firehouse, what the rules are, and who you listen to. Because as a probie,
Well, you don't know if there's more to the story where somebody's saying you don't have to listen to a commissioner.
well, then
That's why I'm saying where's the officers in this part, and I mean, regardless, if somebody's telling you not to do it, the commissioner's probably a member of the department and probably a more senior person than them, obviously. And if they're telling you not to do it, you shouldn't be doing it.
right. So
So I have an issue with that. I mean,
this happens to you as, say, like a chief officer or something like that. How are you handling this situation? Suspended or not?
Probies ride a fine line. Sorry, I walked away. Computer was gonna die. That would have been bad. But I think probies ride a fine line. Like, you're lucky to, you do anything, you're out. It's a no tolerance, pretty much, policy, right?
pretty much. I mean, there could be a little bit of leeway here and there. I don't know how deep this goes or how many times they've been told or whatever, but obviously it's an ongoing issue if they're creating a bunk room for these people to stay in. So this has been a problem already, and they're trying to fix it, and then you're still not doing it. That's like disobeying an order after you've been given a warning already. That's
Right.
what it sounds like, which means to me, either they're getting suspended or thrown out. And you hate to do that. And like you said, they may be super active people and, they hang out there all the time, which I think is a good thing. But if you're defying orders of people and they're telling you not to do it and you're doing it, you got a problem.
That's
You got a big
exactly
problem.
what I was
Because
thinking
if
with
they're
that.
not going to listen there, are they going to listen on the fire ground? When
Exactly.
something's going on?
You have
That's the
that.
only reason I ask if there's officers involved in this, and I don't know. I mean, there could be a lot more to the story. But if their officers are telling them not to do it and they're disobeying the officer and a commissioner, that's even more of a problem.
I just think I'm looking at this like they were already told once, and then they were accommodated,
Correct.
and they still defied it. I think at that point I would be like, look, you guys are out.
It's also a smack in the face to the district or whoever did the accommodation for them.
Exactly.
I
and
say
it's-
take all the couches out and make them sit on the floor.
Yeah.
Sleep in-
But then you're punishing the other members.
I know.
But the
I
thing
know, I'm
is,
just kidding.
like you mentioned, are they going to pay attention on the fire ground,
Right.
or are they just going to do what they want? And then we've talked about this before, but toxic behavior at the firehouse.
Yep.
This is toxic behavior
it's
right
not
here.
good.
These guys,
It's not a good
they get through their probationary period. They become firefighters or even become officers at some point. They're just going to start to spread that
The same
toxicity.
toxic, right.
So I
They're gonna
think
be 3-year goons. You ever hear 3-year goons?
no. What is that?
It's like guys like, oh, I got 3 years and I know what I'm doing now.
Oh,
And
boy.
they just get that attitude. It's a 3-year goon.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
It's that 2-3 years.
Yeah. Oh, I'm comfortable. I know. I go with the flow.
And
I know
a
what
lot
to
of
do.
people go through that,
Yeah.
I feel like that's especially for the younger members because they're at the firehouse all the time. So they have that 3-year period of just living there.
Yeah.
And they think, all right, like, yeah, I got this whole thing.
I was that young guy. I lived in a firehouse almost every day.
yeah, I
Bunch of us.
think most people have.
My schedule.
I
when
started at 18.
My schedule
Raring to
when I
go.
joined, it was freaking my house, Firehouse, Suffolk Community College, Firehouse.
Yep.
If I had to eat, I went home.
I used
back
to
the
respond from
Firehouse.
Suffolk Community College sometimes.
Yeah, really? Oh
Yeah, straight up Nichols Road.
it's a great
Honestly,
overlay,
I probably
guys.
could have done that too.
Yep.
I'm gonna take it a minute, but
I didn't want to be home.
Wicks to Express.
Why be home when I can be at the
Oh,
firehouse
yeah,
hanging
you
out?
were over at that
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah, I didn't go to Selden. Yeah, I went to Brentwood.
Right.
I was in the hood.
But,
Yeah, so I would say-
with any of that stuff, though, we all think we know, and even with a lot of time in the fire department, we think we know. But reality is, you get humbled very quick, and we'll talk about that when we get to the job of the week.
Yeah.
I pulled up.
Oh, you got the video up?
I pulled it up. I tried a different way. I was able to pull it right up.
Oh, all right, sweet. So we'll go into the next one. This is a Instagram video of a fire department pranking police.
Let's see.
Oh, you got that? Oh, you got the video up?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
awesome. Do it.
So we're not going to be able to hear it, but the viewership should be able to. Let me see.
So it looks like they got a
That's the one
balloon
across the parking lot, right?
Yeah, the cops are
That's awesome.
across the street, and they got a balloon on a water balloon on a slingshot.
He probably scared the shit out of him because it's kind of far away.
What happened to the video? Oh, there it is.
It just ended.
You got to loop it. But yeah, they freaking launched that. Looks like they're in their station.
Looks like they're in the
Yeah,
bunk room.
they're in the bunk room.
Imagine.
That is
And that's dead accurate.
It is
Oh,
Whatever
dead
the hell they
accurate.
used to do that.
That is
definitely
awesome.
scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. That was awesome.
That's funny.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the audio is coming through the
It probably
video itself, but
probably should be because it did last time we did a video. It came
Yeah.
through.
It's like when the cops change the sign out in front of the firehouse, they say shush, shush, the fireman is sleeping, you know, or the fireman there's a cop behind the sign. I love that. This cop, slow down, there's a cop behind the sign.
I think that's a funny.
That's awesome stuff.
And I'm sure they probably scared the shit out of that cop that was sitting there.
They probably knew it was coming.
You know what we always say at the firehouse? My headquarters especially, right by the 4th precinct. You go in there at lunchtime sometimes, it's like a freaking union meeting.
Oh, I know,
And
yeah.
They're all there and they're all eating lunch. And then we joke around. We're like, yeah, next time we pass the precinct, we're going to stop by, grab a water bottle. You guys got couches in there, I bet. You know, go in your rec room, see what you guys got for
They
us.
used to hang out a lot more, but not as much anymore in our
Yeah.
firehouses.
I like having
They use the bathroom, and they meet in the parking lot a lot.
I like having a relationship.
Sergeant.
I like having a relationship with the cops because, like, then when you're on scene, if it's something somewhat legitimate, I guess, like, you can kind of
Yeah, you know them.
face and name and stuff like that. So it's
If you go on a lot of runs, you start to know them anyway.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Doing EMS, you freaking know them. You have EMS, so,
Especially
yeah.
chiefs. You know, you're out there interacting with the cops all the
We
time.
do this thing, our group chat, fire department group chat. Mm-hmm. People will just still write 10E.
10E?
Yeah, 10E, 10E, because it's in the Suffolk codes. 10E is ESU. Mm-hmm. So they'll just write 10E, means that ESU is in our district. So, like, be alert, or people will take pictures of ESU and be like, be on alert, ES is in our district. Because, you get some sort of a call,
They're
like
gonna beat you in.
entrapment. Yeah, like, and it's always been like that. I remember a couple of run-ins with ES. Sometimes not so great. Other times, like, these guys roll up, hey, what do you guys need? Like, let us know.
Most of the time, they've been gentlemen.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare.
One of the times, one of the
had
guys,
problems
he
with
had
him.
told me to go take tools off his truck, off his police truck. I'm like, I am not touching that because I don't know. I don't know your partner. I don't know who you're with.
He's
If
gonna
I'm
shoot
seen
me.
taking shit
Yeah.
off that truck. He's gonna.
Back up.
He's just gonna give me a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah, they, especially on the, what do they run? 6 of them? 6 ES trucks that are kind of buzzing around all day?
No,
I don't know if there's that many.
East
Yeah.
and West.
It's only a couple.
Really? Because I
They
remember.
usually hang around by the expressway, too. So
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying.
I thought there's one like west and one east or something at a time.
Yeah, because
I'm not sure, though.
I remember going to one, we got a heavy
should ask
rescue, and there was 2 ES trucks there. They actually had us boxed out. But, yeah, it was
They're in the truck. They're going to be on the road fast.
a soft top Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, that's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I think I
You told me
brought it
about
up.
you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for Suspended or Not. Because we kind of did it quick. Because we put the episode out last week, and then, like, with Easter and everything, like, these were just a couple that we got.
It's all
Have
right.
we gotten
got in.
anything new?
It's all good.
Let me see.
I haven't seen. But we will do...
My Instagram. I can't even go on Instagram.
Send them in.
I don't even...
We need some more suspended
it's-
or not.
It's just too much going on here.
Phil's got too much going
Let's get into iCommand board.
on. Come in.
Every video we see from a career department incident shows an incident command board on scene. Yet, in many NIOSH LODD reports, a recurring finding is the lack of proper incident command. As a chief in the volunteer fire service, your responsibility is to ensure the safety of everyone operating at every incident. Gone are the days of managing this in your head or on a simple whiteboard. The owner of iCommand Board, a volunteer fire chief, took this challenge head on by developing a professional tool tailored for volunteer fire officers. These command boards are designed with size, affordability, and most importantly, accountability at the forefront. Packed with critical information and checklists, they're built to help you stay organized and focused at every event. Visit iCommandboard.com today and take the next step in ensuring the safety and success of your department. And mention that you saw them on the Volly House Podcast, and you'll get 10% off your order.
iCommand. Yeah, you know who I've been meaning to shout out? It's funny, so when I go on the Volly House Instagram page, either you followed a bunch of pages or a lot of recommended, like all fire stuff. There's this guy I found. His name is Dr. Daniel Higuera. He's a PhD. He's a college professor in kinesiology. Did I say that?
Kinesiology?
Kinesiology. And he focuses on sports science and focuses on firefighter health. And his Instagram is just loaded with tons of good content. I had like a short conversation with him, and he does like all different studies on firemen all over the country. I think it's cool to see like a firefighter centric.
That's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
It's cool. I was talking to him a little bit.
So that's definitely a.
He just talks about things that are like overlooked. Like he posted this 3 days ago. Sleep, not stress, is linked to better cardiovascular health.
Sleep is a big problem.
So like guys think like first responders are stressed out just from the job and stuff like that, but the lack of sleep actually has more of an effect on cardiovascular health than the stress does.
And that's why a lot of the paid departments, you look at the schedules, 24 on, 48 off, 24 on, 72 off, 48 on, 96 off, stuff like that. When you look at those schedules, you got to figure out which is actually more beneficial. Not just to the way you're operating, but the way you're working out people's health and sleep and everything else. So, 48 hours in a firehouse is a long time. It works for some people because they get 4 days off after. But if you're going on runs and stuff, and even if you're not going on, like I never slept well in the firehouse.
Well, I think the most important
it's a big
part,
problem.
the most important part of the sleep is the REM sleep. And it's interesting. My fiance, she just got the Aura ring. Mm-hmm. And it tells you when you go into REM sleep.
Yep.
It like tells you how long it took you to fall asleep. But the REM sleep is like the most important part of sleep. That's what's kind of regenerating everything in the body. And like, I would say, I could be wrong, but I think from what I've read, it's like the majority of people don't get like the optimal amount of REM sleep that they should be
I
getting.
believe it. I don't know. I sleep like shit.
And then, the other part of that too is like being woken up from a dead sleep.
Yeah.
Your heart rate increases, to like over 100% in less than a second. As soon as that tone goes off. In New York City, right before I retired, they just switched our tones in our firehouse. They were trying it out, and it was starts off low and then gets louder as it goes.
Yep.
So it kind of wakes you up. But it is a big problem. I still have sleep issues. And people are not sleeping properly, they're not getting enough rest, and then they're operating, and then you have all the other stress problems that come into being a firefighter and PTSD and everything else, the things you see. So it is a big deal, and we need to focus a lot more effort into proper health, proper wellness, proper sleep, and even for these paid departments that are out there and coming up with a better system. A lot of people say that the 24 on, 72 off is a much better schedule for people to get that amount of sleep and rest that they really need. The problem is a lot of people go out and they work another side job, and that doesn't help either.
Yeah.
So there is some merit to it, and looking at it, and even for volunteers, if you're getting up every night of the week, it's not good for your health as well.
I remember my buddies used to take my pager all the time and just like twist the buttons because they were assholes. And every now and then I would, go home, put my pager in the charger, go to sleep, but it would be cranked all the way up. And they would put it on like, not the monitor, but just the alert position. So it was just right off the bat, beep, 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 beep. And it was super loud. And I would like spring out of bed like, holy shit.
Yep.
But yeah, that's definitely important for sure.
Yeah, there was a fire department I just saw recently. Very interesting schedule. It was like 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, and then it was like 5 or 6 days off in a row. And I was like, that's a really cool schedule. I said, I want that one.
Schedule.
Well, 24, that's 48, so you did your week's worth of hours. Right?
Yes. It actually works. It's still 4 shifts. If you look at the way it works, but it's 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, and then I think 6 days off in a row. And
Interesting.
I'm like, that's probably one of the best schedules you could ever have.
100%. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a lot. 6 days off, or even if it was.
Yeah, but you're
even
still doing
4.
48 hours a week.
Yeah.
Or roundabout.
Probably got to give back a little bit at the end of the month or something to make
I don't know. When you look at the schedule, I mean, that's still only 4 shifts.
Well, anybody listening, send if you work a shift like that or heard of it, send us some info. We'd love to take a look at that. Job of the week.
Job of the week.
There's
been a
going
few.
on.
Well, let me check.
Lindenhurst had a job today, I think.
Yeah. No,
but-
I think they wound up being exterior.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
There's been a lot of exterior fires lately.
'tis the season. Probably brush going up and
Garbage cans,
Yep.
ash, fireplaces, stuff like that.
Elwood. There's one in Elwood.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was.
I mean,
Comac
the
Fire
big
Department.
job, I guess, was the Wading River fire that we were talking about before. Multiple departments responded, and towards the overhaul stage, towards the end of the fire, they had a hose line on the second floor, and a chief had mentioned that the floor was a little spongy, and floors shouldn't be spongy. I don't know all the details, but somebody said some people were moving around a little too much up there, and next thing you know, the whole floor collapsed. So we had a bunch of firefighters went down. They were trapped. Came over the command band for the coordinators that they had 4 firefighters trapped. They got them all out pretty quickly, and 2 were transported to the hospital. One with a laceration above the eye due to a Halligan sliding down and hitting the firefighter in the face. Luckily did not hit the eye, thank God. And the other firefighter was pinned below. The firefighter had the nozzle and had some back pain and stuff like that. So both are out of the hospital, thank God. Knock on wood, they're both okay. The other 2 RMA'd that were injured, that were trapped. But, gets back to the point of, and the one firefighter, I went up to the hospital, met with both of them, and said, been around a little bit, and humble pie, a little humbling experience very quickly. And we talk about that a lot. You think you know. You don't know until you get to the point where you're pinned down and you can't get yourself out. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And it gets back to some of the things we've been talking about in the past. I dwell on it a lot about wearing your gear properly. Now, we're in overhaul stages. It was ventilated pretty good. Face pieces weren't on anymore. So, that's one side of it. But, when we're in overhaul stages, you always have to consider what the atmosphere is, what you're breathing in. The other side of that is wearing your gear properly. And I stress on this all the time. You got to wear your gear. And you got to have everything buttoned up all the way to the hilt, all the time. Even in overhaul stage, I know it could get warm and you don't need it, but you have a situation like this, things go wrong, you get trapped into a collapse. If your gear isn't on, you're going to get hurt or burnt. And, just from compression against the heat or the embers can burn right through your gear and equipment. So it's very important to be wearing your gear and being prepared. But
Collapse situation's terrifying.
it's very terrifying.
Because it's not even just, I fell through a floor. It's all this shit that's on that floor coming down on top of you.
Or other firefighters
Or
on
other-
top
yeah,
of you.
other firefighters.
So
So now they saw that the floor was a little bit spongy. Somebody made a communication, and it was just...
I don't know if it went over the radio. I'm not sure. I think they just said the floor feels a little spongy, and next thing you know, boom, it went down.
That's scary.
And that was during overhaul.
Towards the end of the fire, yeah.
Interesting.
And that could happen. You
lot
never
of-
know when things could happen, and a lot of things go wrong in the first couple minutes. Sometimes towards the end of the fire, but
But you got to think all the weight from the water, soaking in, and then any structural damage from the fire itself. It's just going to add to it for
Correct.
sure.
So, if you read the label in your gear, it says you can be hurt, injured wearing this gear. It's a dangerous profession, what we're in, and you're volunteering your time. You have to be considerate of what could possibly happen. You know, luckily everybody got out okay, you know, with some minor injuries, but it can always happen. So, you know.
I had a sheetrock ceiling fall on me once, and even just the weight of it on my shoulders like made
From
me...
with like soaked in water.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, you know,
Insulation
I'm on the first
sheetrock?
floor. The second floor just kind of, I mean, it fully landed on me, but obviously it's just sheetrock and some insulation, so it wasn't much. But I remember once I felt it hit me on the head, I'm like, uh-oh. Like, it kind of made me...
Anything, you know,
I think-
in 2018, I got hit with a light fixture at a second alarm fire. Fell out of the ceiling. They were
Chandelier
pulling
type?
ceilings. It was up about 25, 30 feet, and I've herniated discs in my neck because of it. It
Really?
knocked me to the ground. Came flying down, hit me in the head.
Heavy chandelier?
Boom.
Or like
no, it's a 2 foot by 4 foot light fixture.
Oh, it's just a fixture.
Yeah, just in a drop ceiling. You know, so these things happen. And, you know, when I first got on the job
Oh,
in
you're
the city,
saying like, I mean, there's no ceilings in here, but
there's
you're
none in here.
like
Big,
long light.
Yep.
Yeah, yep.
just like you see in a drop ceiling. They weigh about 23 pounds, somewhere around there.
But
Yeah, but
falling-
Coming
falling
down
from-
20 feet.
Yeah, 20 feet.
They're
And then,
supposed to be secured, but, you know, there's fire up in that area, probably melted the wires.
Yeah,
and-
it's a little...
and then depending on what angle, because like the neck is so like fragile. So like
I
if
didn't
you're
even
at
know
a
it was
certain
coming.
angle-
It
Yeah,
just
no,
hit
that's
me
what
and
I'm
I was on
saying.
the ground, you know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it could catch the brim of your helmet and
Absolutely.
it yanks you like a certain way.
I saw that, you know, you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a video a couple years back, city fireman walking in between two houses.
Oh, yeah.
and
The air
a fucking
conditioner.
Air conditioner
Yep.
hit him.
Yep.
Yeah, that video. I hate that video.
Yeah, that shit is scary.
You always have to be cautious, no matter what you do. But some things, they're just going to happen.
Well, the other thing, Phil, I don't know if you mentioned this last episode, but when you're overhauling, say, an attic, and the attic doesn't really have a floor to it, it's just like, or maybe Kevin, you were saying it, but like the amount of shit that's up in an attic.
Oh, yeah.
When you're throwing the pole up there and ripping out everything, anything that's up there can come falling right through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't remember saying that, but I agree.
I don't know if maybe it was one of you guys, or maybe I saw it somewhere, but like it's just another thing. Like,
There's
that's
always
what I
stuff.
tell you when you're doing overhaul. You know, especially putting the hook through the ceiling. Like you're push it up and pull down out away from you, not like directly above you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the hell is going to come.
Yeah, people
flying
always
down.
imitate like pulling ceiling and they go like this. Like it's more...
Yeah. You want to make sure it's away from you, but scary situation either way.
We have a ceiling pulling prop for practice.
Oh yeah.
If you want to practice ripping sheetrock out of a ceiling.
Yeah.
That's good.
So stupid though.
Tell
Well,
you what,
you know what? We don't teach people how to pull ceilings.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who don't know how to pull ceilings.
It's
until
fair.
you,
Simple
until you go to
concept, yeah.
fires and somebody shows you how to do it.
Yeah.
But we should be showing people how to pull ceilings, rip down walls.
That's like
stuff
another
that.
simple concept, like I was saying last week about the thermal cameras, the imaging cameras. Like simple, different ways of using them, but it's such a simple. It's like stupid, but
Right.
it makes a lot of sense.
and even for any tool in general. I mean, we've talked about that a bunch of times.
But gets back to, you know, if you're wearing your helmet, wearing a chin strap, you know, and I know a lot of people still don't like wearing a chin strap. When I switched to a plastic helmet, I started wearing it all the time because the helmet kept falling off my head.
Yeah.
But you gotta wear the chin strap. You gotta wear your hood. You gotta wear your chin strap, and it's for protection. And you know, I know there's a lot of people that are like, well, why does the helmet have to be rated the way it is and everything else? And you're probably right. Your neck's gonna give out before the helmet's gonna give out. But it's protection, and it's going to get beat on over and over and over again. But you have to wear your equipment properly. If you get hit in the head and your helmet comes off and more stuff comes down, it's going to be a problem. So you should be wearing your chin strap properly.
I always wondered guys who didn't wear chin straps. Like to me, I would always put my shit on and put my chin strap on right away because my helmet used to fall off, or it would tilt and just wasn't uncomfortable. I have a new Bullard helmet that the district got us. I put that thing on. I do a little crank in the back.
Ratchet, yep.
I can go upside down with the thing on. It literally like hugs my head perfect.
Yeah,
And
but is that with a face piece on?
either or.
No, okay.
Like at FDIC.
So
I was
years
bailing
ago,
in.
firefighters, the helmets were fitted to your head. And, you know, way back, they didn't really wear the CBA. So that thing went on your head. It stuck on there good. And, you know, my first couple leather helmets that I had, you know, fit really well. I mean, you didn't really need a chin strap. I mean, the thing just sat on your head. It didn't come off. But the way helmets are designed now and the weight and now the plastic and everything else, they fall off very easily. So you got to wear a chin strap.
Yeah.
No, this Bullard one I have, it freaking, and I used FDIC as a test. It was more like smoke simulated.
What was it? FDIC you called it?
FDIC.
At FDIC thermal imaging class. I actually like tested my boundary with it because I was curious because like if it's a real fire, I'm probably gonna strap it up just because like if I'm sitting in the back
Please
of the truck,
do.
knowing I'm going somewhere, I'm squaring away everything. But I was like, all right, let me see, because we were jumping in windows. I'm like, let me see what I can get away with this. And it actually stayed on. I'm like, and I not recklessly, but like freely just jumped in, and it just stayed on top of my head. I was actually surprised.
Until somebody hits you in the head.
Yeah, and then like a little knock will knock it off.
Or like what happened to me at an attic fire when the guy hit me with the line and my helmet went flying across the attic.
Well, yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. So
I got blasted with a line once.
gotta wear
Yeah,
a chin
it
strap.
hurts. Drill of the week.
Drill of the week. I don't know. What do you got?
I got 2 cars. I got 3 cars right now at headquarters. We
After
didn't do
your big
anything
extrication drill at
at FDIC.
FDIC.
We didn't do anything Sunday because of Easter, but I got these. We're actually doing it on, I think, Thursday. And we have, 3 cars. I'm going to pull my Jersey barriers out. I'm going to mangle them because I want to do.
Oh, yeah, you want to put them up
So
against
hopefully
the Jersey barrier?
you're taking what you learned at FDIC and bringing it back.
Yeah, I want to do.
It's important. It's important to learn things
Yeah.
and bring it back.
And it's, because like we said, like the perspective, like we do a lot of extrication here, but a different perspective from guys all over the country and world at FDIC.
You could definitely
It's
learn
good,
things.
good training. But yeah, I can't
Can we
wait.
call it FDIC? I don't like the FDIC.
You don't like FDIC?
No, I don't.
What, did somebody call you?
No, but I'm sure I will get a phone call at some point.
Don't call FDIC.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, listen, FDIC gives some good quality training that you can bring back to your department. That's why I always liked going there, because you learn some stuff. You learn, like you said, from other people, maybe an idea, or maybe it puts a light bulb in your head that you come up with a better idea. But then bring that stuff back. When you go out to these conferences, the whole idea is to learn something and bring it back to the rest of the troops.
So when
pass
you,
it on.
When you do this drill, you're going to smash these cars up and put them up against Jersey barrier, and then what's your next plan of attack? You get the guys there, you're going to give them a brief, quick, or you're just going to be like, hey,
Go through it.
you're pulling up to the scene, figure it out.
I like to, before the cars are super cut up and beat up, because I like to dent the doors in to actually, try and pin them and get them stuck.
You're going to use your
Initially-
Bobcat or whatever you have?
Yeah.
Skid steer?
Well, it helps with putting the cars upside down, the
Yeah.
Bobcat, sideways or upside down.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to draw it out. I have like an image in my head of a heavy rescue we went on the south side of the expressway where that hotel is.
Oh, yeah, the cars just come flying
they
off that
fly
retaining
off the
wall.
expressway.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how I can put them together. Like I want to have the retaining wall.
Put one straight up and down like this on the Jersey barrier with the other car against it. That's a good one.
Jersey barrier car, and then one like that, right? Yeah, I want
Either up or straight down.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of get up and support it and then have to cut them out
Yeah.
in the air almost.
But anyway, back to your question. I like to mangle them up. I mean, guys are going to see us doing it, so they're not going to walk up to it like they've never seen it before. But I like the first evolution is like I throw the dummies in the car before they start moving it with the Bobcat. And then the first evolution is just like go, like as if it's real. And then after that, you get the victim out, whatever. Then we'll start taking out like the airbags and doing different stuff that takes longer.
Chain.
Yeah, plenty of chain. People
Plenty
hate
of
chain.
chain.
So do you assign like one of your lieutenants to be like the officer, or do you give it to like a senior guy? How do you?
I like to make sure the new guys use the tools.
Right.
Obviously, like lieutenants and senior guys are gonna, be guiding them and kind of strategizing with them. But I like having the new guys like kind of like get under there, like especially with stabilization. Like it's easy to use cutters and spreaders. Like anyone can grab those and kind of get at it. But like, I don't know, seeing the big picture, stabilizing everything, and then cutting, and just like, I don't know, not just going at it like, oh, let's just rip the doors off.
Right.
I like to kind of strategize, if I could call it.
No,
that.
it's a good idea. I
but yeah.
was just curious.
Yeah,
but-
I like to
Make
go
them
at
think.
it.
Definitely make them think.
Yeah, but definitely like to go at it live, as if we pulled up, and then
do like a critique afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I hate using the term critique,
Yeah, I'm with you on
but
that.
it's kind of like a live debrief. I don't know. I
Right.
don't like to sit around and be like, you could have done this, you could have done this. It's like, well, this works, and this also works, and this also works.
I always like to, after a drill, like if I saw things that didn't go how I thought they should go, or I would also always pay attention to things that went real well, and always call that person out. Like, hey, you guys that were doing stabilization, phenomenal job. Like, that was perfect. Take me through how you did that. And then I'd always call out in front of everyone, like, the best things that I saw. Then I would ask, is there anything we could have done differently?
Well,
And
ask
then-
them what they were thinking. Like, why
Right,
did they
yeah.
come up with that, or why they go a certain direction? Because it may make other people think, of how they got to that process. It's a process.
Right.
And maybe I'm like focusing on stabilization because of like the image I have in my head of having a car like upside down, but like that scenario is going to be like very stabilization heavy, because if that car flips and there's 10 firemen and cops standing around it, you're going to get whacked.
Yeah.
So obviously it depends on the situation. If it's two cars that are just like this and you can start cutting doors and just chalking the bottom of them, popping the tires, like
Right.
And then just go over like roadway safety too. You can hit on that. A firefighter was just killed. I think it was a lieutenant. I don't know if he was off duty, on duty. I just saw it before I got here. But helping somebody disable motorists on the road got hit.
I saw that too.
Hit by
yeah.
a car. The roads are just so dangerous.
Yeah, it's
you
brutal.
just be careful whatever you're doing on the road.
I always think, because some departments, they like hold back on response for like Alpha and Bravo MVAs. I think we talked about this last week, but not having the fire department respond, I think is so dumb, because like that's like the best protection vehicle you could have.
If
like,
it's on the roadway, yeah.
like fender bender on the expressway, like no fire service needed, but having a fire truck there is not a bad idea.
No,
Right.
but it also screws up traffic, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
I think that's the way they look at it. But I mean, obviously, if it's in a parking lot or on a side road, it's not as bad as on the highway. But
Yeah.
That one particular incident you're talking about with the, like, what you want to do for your drill, I remember we used to it would come through as a heavy rescue in the parking lot of the Holiday Inn. Mm-hmm. What the fuck is there a heavy rescue in the parking lot? But it was the
'Cause the
cars that were
cars-
coming off the service
Yep.
road, and there's like a
Go
20
right
foot
into the
retaining
parking lot.
wall. Yeah, it was insane. Some of the
That was one
accidents
of
we
the
went to.
first, and it's funny, we were talking about ESU, one of the first rescues I went on, flying there in the old rescue truck, chauffeur screaming, I can't stop! Like slamming on the brakes, like as if we're moving, like, and guys are in his way, and he's like, I can't fucking stop!
Oh
and
my
then we
God.
pull up, ES is like running down the retaining wall, the rescue truck's coming this way in the parking lot, we're like screaming, the chauffeur's screaming at him, get out of the way! And then it's just a disaster. But that's one of the ones.
It's a
The guy actually came from the expressway, went through the fence that separates the service road,
Oh, went
then
over the
off the
service-
service
yeah.
road into the hotel parking lot.
you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the one in Deer Park with the drunk guy into the nail salon.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
You know, like
That was a
you know,
shit show.
who would think heavy rescue in a store like that? But that's legit.
Yeah.
That's a big accident.
For sure.
So they can happen everywhere.
I'm curious if because the red light camera program's over, I wonder over time if that's going to have an effect, because I feel like we used to get a lot of rescues before the red light camera program, and now that it's over, I wonder if things will change.
I feel like we used to get them like when it started too, because people were slamming on their
Yeah.
brakes and
Yeah.
getting
You get
rear-ended.
the rear end.
That happened
Yeah.
to my brother. He got rear-ended.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying that. All right, let's get into Red Alert or Red NMX. If you've listened to this podcast long enough or been in the fire service long enough, you probably know that 10 different fire departments will do the same thing in 10 different ways. Every department is different, whether it's scheduling permits, reporting, points tracking, inventory, or truck checks. Chances are high that your department does it differently from the one down the street. Hopefully you're managing most of this with software. Is your software vendor putting you into their box? When you ask for a small change to your system, do they just add it to the list or do they get it done? Maybe you bought another piece of software just to get scheduling right. Next thing you know, you have 5 different vendors to manage your Firehouse just because your original vendor couldn't make a small change. Alpine Software's Red NMX is the all-in-one fire software that fits the needs of your department. Their average customer has been with them for 19 years. Why? They have dedicated people to set up your system, convert your data, and get you trained. They have a US-based call and email support staff. If you're tired of, we'll add it to the list. Join the hundreds of other departments that have switched to Alpine software. Kev,
Yes, sir.
topics. I know we mentioned one of the articles that you had sent this morning, but not like a ton of information.
Oh,
on
the
it.
one out in PA?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw a post, like I always say, I read a lot of stuff. I always see a lot of stuff. So somebody had made a comment.
I'm wondering who's sending me messages on Facebook. Because I get that little
Kevin.
ping.
Yeah.
I get the little ping. I'm like,
Kevin's sending
and
you
then I gotta
stuff.
open the
Read
Messenger
this.
app.
Check this out. So, somebody made a comment, and, obviously you can't believe everything that's written on social media. There's a lot of false information. There's a lot of misinformation and stuff like that. So I was trying to get more information of what happened, but it seems like there was a fire out in PA. Volunteer department responded to it, and this guy was blasting them, basically of what they did. But 2 people died in the fire, and you hate to see tragic things all the time, and see people die in fires. But we have a job to do. We provide a service for our communities, for the taxpayers. That's why we exist. We've talked about this many, many times. And you being a volunteer is not an excuse to do your job. And the fire service in general over time has gotten into this, I don't want to say we went backwards, and I don't want to say that we're doing the wrong thing, but we're looking out for each other, and we should be looking out for each other. But we are still there for one particular reason, and that's for the people that we serve every single day. And being a volunteer is not an excuse for that. You have to do a job. We signed up to do a job. We take an oath to do a job, and the public does not care if we're volunteers, paid on call, or anything else. They expect us to be dedicated to the mission and the job. And, I know you're going to get on me for saying mission driven, but it's
Ding,
true.
ding, ding.
I know, but it's true that we have a responsibility to the public and our taxpayers, and we have to act accordingly. If this is not what you signed up to do, then you're in the wrong profession. We signed up to do a job, to take an oath, and to take care of people. Life safety, life and property, obviously. So you have to be dedicated to your department. You have to be dedicated to your community. You have to show up. You have to be prepared to work, and you have to do the job. If you're not willing to run into a burning building, if you're not willing to risk your life, you really should not be doing this. So you have to act accordingly. That's basically what it comes down to. So, like you said, we don't have all the details, don't know exactly what happened. It seems like this person had a little more information than we did. And, I hate to see people blasting the volunteer fire service or putting people down. But if you're not willing to commit and risk your life for other people, obviously you have to look at risk versus reward. But we have to make a difference in people's lives. That's why we're here. So we're here to protect the public. You have to provide a proper service. If you are not willing to provide the proper service, then get somebody who will. And, I'm not saying get rid of the volunteer system. I'm not saying any of that. You got to be willing to do the job or get somebody who's going to do it for you. So
What's interesting to me is we're on 4 months of this podcast, and this is the second time that we're discussing a volunteer department that didn't really do the job that they were supposed to do.
Well,
so
I could find paid departments that are in the same boat. And,
oh yeah. I'm sure, absolutely.
I understand this importance, right? We have to take care of ourselves. We have to do certain things. But, there are a lot of people out there now speaking and, going out on a limb, putting their neck out there. We have gear. We have equipment. We have SCBAs. We have a lot more protection than the civilian does in that fire. A lot more. And if you're not willing to take a little bit of risk to go in and try to save somebody that has no protective gear on, we got a big problem.
Yeah, I know.
And you could look at it volunteer paid. You can look at it any way you want. You have to be willing to commit to try to save people's lives.
Right.
Otherwise, why are we showing up? Anybody, listen, all fires will go out at some point. We don't need a fire department. It will burn to the ground eventually.
Right.
All right. But we're there to protect the public. That is our main goal. And if you're not willing to get there quick, getting on the road, getting there and putting water on the fire, going in and doing a search, we got bigger problems. The cops in this particular fire, it sounds like a couple cops tried to go in there and make a difference.
One of them got hurt, yeah.
And they don't have any protective gear, and the cops are running through the door. So why aren't we as firefighters running through the door?
Why?
And I'm all about safety. This isn't a detriment on safety or anything else, but we've put it in people's mind that our safety is more important than the people we're trying to serve. And I think that's a wrong mission. I mean, listen, if the place is burning to the ground, it's collapsing, yeah, you have no business going in there. But there is a lot of survivable space within structures, and people need our help. You know, I watch, a civilian kid put a ladder up to a second floor window and rescue somebody, right? We can't do that with protective gear and a hose line.
What do you think, and what do you say, like, there's chiefs and firemen out there that they're in the position, but they are either incapable, incompetent, or just not willing to do what they need to do. What do you say to those guys that hold the position and go through their term and just don't do the job? Like, we see these videos, chiefs not going in, firemen not going in, delaying, not pushing as hard or as fast as they could. Like, what do you say to guys that are just like complacent in the spot? They just want to hold the title and they just don't want to do the job. Like,
you want my personal opinion?
I just think, I'm asking you because you have a lot of experience, but like, I think like no one's telling you be a volunteer fireman.
Correct.
No one's, and if you're a paid guy, I'm sure you have opportunities to do something lighter duty. If you're really scared or whatever the case may be, you can be, a dispatcher, you can drive a chief around, you can find something to do. So what do you say to the guys that just hold the spot for either the title or for the ego, or they don't
Personally?
Yeah.
They're cowards.
Yeah.
They're cowards. Listen, I hate to be blunt, but that's the truth.
I agree.
If you're not willing to risk your life and you want to just wear a firefighter costume, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
I've said this before. It's not for everybody. Listen, there's people that are afraid of heights that don't like ladders. There's people that are scared of fire. It's just truth. And everybody should have a little bit of, you should be scared about fire. I mean, I'm not saying don't be scared about fire, but you have to be a little scared of fire. But you got to know your enemy. But we get training. People say, how do you run into a burning building? If you ask a civilian and you say, you know what it is? It comes down to training. Mm-hmm. I'm trained to look at certain things or feel certain things, and I can make a move. And I tell people all the time, you have to make a move. If you're not making a move, what are you doing? You're going to die.
Your training will help you mitigate risk.
But our training tells us this is what this type of smoke condition, this is fire, this is, we have cameras. We have so much technology and gear that can protect us that we can go so much further, so much deeper, have so much more protection than that civilian in there. And if you're not willing to take that little bit of risk, you're a coward. Put your shit on and get in the door and go save somebody's life. That's what we're here for.
What's interesting is I had a guy one time, he was a Marine, like had combat experience, told me I was nuts for running into burning buildings.
Absolutely.
I'm like, you went to a different country and were shooting at people in their country. Yeah. I wouldn't do that. You know, but like this stuff I'll do.
I had a Navy SEAL say that. And
that's insane.
But the reality is they practice. When they have a mission, they know what their mission is. They practice that mission. They have a plan A, B, C, D, all right, before they go into it, most of the time, unless they're in just severe combat. But when you look at firefighters, we do the same thing. It's our daily training or weekly training or monthly trainings that we do that prepare us, that we fill this file cabinet in our head with a bunch of files. And when we get to a scene, we go, okay, it sounds like this file, and we pull the file out, and that's what we do. So our training, and we say this, I'm going to go back to it, training and education is the most important thing we can do. And they're all perishable skills. If we're not practicing and training on a regular basis, we're not going to be able to operate. So you have to train, you have to prepare yourself, you have to wear your gear properly, and you have to make a move. Otherwise, you're going to be a coward. You're going to stand outside. You're going to watch a place burn to the ground, and hopefully somebody doesn't die. And we don't want that. We're here to protect civilians. That's our job.
That's interesting with the military guys, because it's like I'm trying to like rationalize that. Like
Yeah,
going
when he
aboard,
said that to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm
I
like,
guess like,
But they have plans. They have training in a certain way,
Right.
and we do. And we just have to. If we're not training, we're not going to be able to do our job.
I'm trying to think like being like an infantry, like people can miss shots, but if you get shot, you're dead or injured.
Yeah.
Where if, like fire will burn you every time. Like I don't know. I'm trying to like make sense of it.
What I think it is like, and we've talked about this a bunch of times, but it comes down to that complacency where you say maybe join a fire department with, you know, all your will is to help people, and then you kind of get involved with it and see how that department runs. Everything's kind of lax. Maybe there's not a ton of training, and you kind of just fall in line with that, and then it's the parades, it's, you know, this and that, you know, you get the badge, and that all of a sudden starts to feed your ego, and then you get in the officer's position, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
To me, that novelty wears away though. Like the parades, the nice stuff.
That's like, for you feel that way. I feel the same way. You know, like
right now, if I'm at the firehouse, I just want to go to. I want to go to work.
I want to go to
MVAs,
fires.
I want to go
Right.
to fires, parades. I've been to so many installation dinners. I've been to so many. I just want to go do the job.
And I have to say, I think I've been fortunate enough that the majority of people that I've worked with through different departments are all kind of like that. They're just, hey, we want to be good firefighters. We want to go to work. But you do have those people that wind up in those positions where it's, oh, I'm the chief. I got the white hat. I got the car.
Yeah.
And then they wind up on Spot the Volley chief, you know, and then,
Embarrassing.
Speaking of, where's that guy at?
yeah,
Yeah, we
back
got to
on
get
it.
Spot the Volley
Get that
Chief
guy on
back.
the phone.
But yeah, and then it's unfortunate that it takes a situation like that where that's what it takes to be humbled, where now somebody lost their life because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Well, you know, you look at a quick response, right? The quicker we get there, obviously the fire is going to be less. You know, we want to catch the fire before it gets to be blowing out every single window. So if we're not meeting that need, we need to look to ways to get out the door faster. We need to get to fires quicker before they get to be very severe. On the other side of that is, you know, getting back to size up, you got to size up everything and look at it and see what's really going on. But if fire's in one bedroom, you can't get in there and close the door and protect the rest of the house.
That's my thing.
Without a line?
With these guys, like some of the situations that we talked about, guys not like even going in and taking a look at what's going on. Like,
You gotta see
go
what's
down
going
a
on.
hallway and see, like,
Feel
you gotta
the
s-
heat.
Yeah,
Just
you
feel
gotta
the heat.
see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Use your senses. And then if shit starts getting dark where you can't see shit and you're not hearing where a person is, you don't exactly know where the fire is, and you don't have guys there yet, then yeah, maybe back out.
But
But
there are departments out there now that feel if they don't have water, whether it's a hose line, supply line, or whatever, they don't have water, they're not going into search.
Right.
And
That defeats
and
the
that's a
purpose.
shame. I mean, like, I get it. It's dangerous. What we do is dangerous. It says it on the label. You have all your gear. It's inherently dangerous conditions that we're going into. But your training in your critical thinking and situational awareness will prepare you for what you need to do.
100%.
You get in there, you go as far as you can, it gets too hot, all right, then you got to back out. You got to do what you have to do.
Right.
But if you're waiting for water or waiting for a hydrant or waiting, you can't wait when people's lives. If you
getting
hear
worse.
a person is trapped, you have to get in that building as fast as possible.
Absolutely.
All right? And, you know, Mike Champo just said it at FDIC in the keynote. He goes, if you're following a line in to do a search, he goes, what are you doing?
You're right, yeah.
He
You're
goes,
in the
you're picking
wrong-
up the scraps or something like that.
Yeah.
Or what's left over. And he's absolutely right. I mean, you know, if you're not going in there, if people are telling you have to have water to do a search, we got a big problem. The fire service has gone way too far out.
it defeats the whole purpose.
I
It
couldn't
defeats the whole
stand
purpose.
there. Me personally, if I knew there was a victim and if there's no engines, I couldn't stand there and wait.
Well, also
and then getting back to, people saying, well, everybody's out, or we're hearing everybody's out. That's a good thing to hear. It doesn't
100%,
mean
yeah.
that you don't search the building. You still have to search it. You could have a little bit of a slower approach, but just because people tell you people are out of the building doesn't mean that everybody's
And
out
the
of the
other
building.
thing, too,
you
even-
could have a civilian that ran in there
Yeah.
to try to save his neighbor and is in that building now. So you
But you
have
say,
to
too,
still search every space.
The risk versus reward, when you pull up and you do your size up, like even understanding the way smoke works, reading smoke,
Absolutely.
like you're going to know, okay.
The color of smoke.
Yeah, it might be like, I could tell you, is the structure burning? Is it room and contents? The velocity of the smoke pushing out. How hot is it in there? If I pop open a door, is it going to be a flashover, backdraft? Like you have those things, but if you go in, you can get inside without there being a problem, and you understanding the way smoke works, maybe where you see the fire is, get in there and do your fucking job.
Well, if you could see where the fire is, it makes it a lot easier.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying like if you're pulling up and there's like
and I'm not
flames
saying
coming out the window or
that
something.
water isn't important. Water is one of the most important things that we're going to do. And the quicker we get water on the fire, the quicker the fire goes out, right? The quicker the problems go away. So getting water on the fire is still one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that you're going to do there. But if people are trapped, either you got to get in there right away and do a search, or you got to get that hose line in there, put the fire out right away to get those people out. But you have to get in there as fast as possible. If you're standing, squirting water through windows and standing outside, or, I got to wait for 4 more people to show up when people are trapped. Listen, when there's a known life hazard, 2 in, 2 out is out the window.
Well,
A single person
particular
can go in
incident,
there.
They were saying that people were hearing people screaming inside.
Yeah.
Use your senses.
You gotta get in
walk up to the building. If you hear a scream coming from a certain area of the building, okay, now you have a kind of a good gauge on where you need to go. So get in there, figure out the fuck's going on, and if you can get down a hallway and you can call out to whoever's screaming,
Close the door,
yeah,
contain the fire,
exactly.
knock it back with a can, whatever the situation is, you got to do it. And, and this isn't just a volunteer thing. This is firefighters in general. There are paid departments out there that operate just like this, or they only have 2 or 3 people on the rig, whatever. If there is a known life hazard, you have to get in there and try to save these people's lives. You have to do it. That's what we're here for. That's what we signed up to do. You have to do it. You have a lot more protection with the gear that you have on, if you're wearing it properly, than they do. You have to get in there.
And
Why do you think it's gotten away from that? Why do you think people pull up? Like, we could walk through 5 firehouses on Long Island, and we can be like, you're not going in, you're not going in, you're not going in, because it's easy. It's not hard to do. Why do you think that's the case? You think it's just laziness? People don't go to work enough?
I don't think it's all laziness. I think, some people, first off, they're not comfortable with themselves. They're not comfortable with their training level. I personally don't think we train enough for a job that's going to kill us. I think we should train all the time. I get people in many departments, that's too much. I'm a volunteer. I don't have time for training. I don't have time for this. You have to train. I don't care if you're sitting at home on your computer doing stuff, you're practicing stuff on a Tuesday afternoon when you come home from work. You don't need to get a point to train. Go down to Firehouse, pull a hose line. Go down, put an SCBA on. I worked with a guy, he's crazy, but he would take a spoon and throw it on the apparatus floor and search for it on his own. Okay, sounds crazy, but that guy was
wanted to better himself.
he was so comfortable wearing an SCBA. The first time I was like, this guy's crazy. But you know what? He was so comfortable. He can make an SCBA bottle last 10 times longer than anybody else because he wore it all the time. He practiced all the time. It doesn't, one person, yourself, or 2 people, me and you go down to Firehouse on a Tuesday afternoon. Hey, throw an SCBA on gear. Let's just crawl around the apparatus floor. Let's get comfortable wearing our SCBA. Let's go throw a portable ladder up. Let's go stretch a hose line. I don't need a department training, a company training. I don't need a point. Mm-hmm. I want to make myself better, and anybody can do that. Practice 1-person ladder raises.
that's the thing too. That's something you can just do.
You
don't
can
have
just
to do
do
like
it.
a whole pre.
I take the ladder truck in the back all the time, and we created this like cone set up with ropes. I go throw a traffic cone in a random spot. I'll put it on top of a trailer, on top of a building, whatever, and then I go at the turntable and I just run it from the turntable. And
Yep.
Yeah.
just my depth perception, just
Absolutely.
operating and everything.
It's practice. The more comfortable you get doing anything, taking tools off the rig, just put all your gear on, take a position on a rig. Say you're the OV. Take the position, grab your tools, walk around the building, do a 360, look at the second floor, or roof, and say, you know what, I'm going to go grab a ladder. Put your tools down, go grab a ladder, bring it outside, throw it up on the building, climb up to the top with your tools. Just go through the motions. The more you practice doing that, and you should train with an SCBA on your back all the time, even if the face piece isn't on, just the weight, just getting comfortable with it. But you can go train on your own anytime you want. That's the best part of it. And people don't take advantage of it. And then there's so many online platforms, resources, whether it's through your insurance company, the IFF, or different agencies out there, YouTube. There's videos and it's not all great. Some of it's better than others, but solar panel. I did 3 or 4 solar panel trainings online just because I wanted to learn more about solar panels, energy storage systems, stuff like that. Just go online, start watching some videos or go through some training programs. You have to go make yourself better. You have to. And if you're that person that's scared of fire, then don't get on the fire truck. Go find something else to do. Mm-hmm. But we cannot be cowards. The public expects us. They don't care if you volunteer. They don't care if you're paid. They don't care who you are. They want a fire truck to show up as quickly as possible, act professionally, do the job, and take care of their problem as fast as possible. That's what they want.
Nail on the head, Kev.
Roll it.
Let's go do it.
Let's go right now.
Let's go right now. I'm in.
I'll pull up in a ladder truck next time. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Do some videos.
But it's very important. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. Don't make your department look bad. Don't be that person. Don't be that coward. And listen, if you're scared, you can make yourself better that you're not scared anymore. Practice being comfortable in what you're doing and your job, you'll be fine.
Or do EMS.
Or do EMS.
Well, they got their
Take an
own,
EMT class.
They got their own set of scary shit too. Yeah, it's a whole nother episode, but
That's why they sell bulletproof vests. Bulletproof vests at FDIC.
yeah,
For the
you
sisters.
never know.
All right.
That's a
I
wrap.
got pissed.
Yeah.
Episode 15. That's a wrap.
Episode 15.
Good
Roll
stuff.
it.
Roll it.